that's
Maple
in that
and
section, yeah. And then
Laurel,
eventually
Shaker.
there was a bank, a branch of a bank on the other side of the street. So there were those things, but they didn't come immediately. We had to wait a little while before they came. As we did our at first we did our grocery shopping. You had to have a car, and the closest place would have been the market on Longmeadow Street, Schneider's Market. On Longmeadow Street,
market?
the community market. And if
that
you
was there then?
That was there then. And if you didn't go there, you had to go out of town, went to Springfield or West Springfield or maybe Enfield to find a grocery store.
Right. How fast was Sheffield developed?
Well, it was fairly fast. We built, and immediately after, and almost simultaneously, our builder built on both sides of us. He built 2 houses on one
I
side.
noticed you sent a picture of 64 and 67.
Yeah.
That was the same builder.
And on the other side, he built 2 houses immediately. And then he started up building on Birch Road, and it just kept continuing. I mean, it was like each year more houses were built for the next maybe 5-6 years.
Right.
Yeah. And he continued up Sheffield to Drury Lane. He built most of the houses on Drury Lane, so that, it just continued.
The same guy?
Hmm?
The same man?
The same man, yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He lucked out. I mean,
Yeah, he did. He did. Yeah.
You were
And
his first.
Yeah. Well, he had other before he
Yes.
did these in Longmeadow. So anyway.
I mean, in that
Yeah,
area.
it just, it was, you could see it, and it was, we could watch all the streets being built on the other side of Wolf Swamp Road, one street after another. We watched them go, houses going up month after month.
Were the streets already laid out?
They were laid out, but I don't think they were paved or anything. I think they were all planned by whoever plans them in the town. Somebody makes
We
these
don't have
streets.
a planner, so I have no idea either.
Well, I don't know how they were done, but those streets apparently had been marked out, ahead of time, for years ahead of time, and the same thing happened on all those side streets off of Wolf Swamp that happened on Sheffield and Birch.
Yes.
Yeah, same thing.
So when was Sheffield paved finally? Do you remember?
Oh dear, I
And
do not.
did you get water and sewer at the beginning?
We didn't have sewer. We had water, but we had to have septic
You had
tanks.
town water?
We had town water, but we had septic tanks. And that was quite a few years before we had the sewer lines put in. And the other thing is, not only were we in the woods on facing Wolf Swamp, but on the other side, our backyards looked across to Shaker Road, and quite a few of those houses were not there. There were only a few houses there also. So we watched those being built up.
Popping up around you.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. So eventually they did pave everything.
Yes, they did. And I really don't know the sequence of the dates.
No,
but they
that's all
eventually
right.
did.
Just a general idea.
Yeah.
It was quite a while
Yeah.
before you got sewer.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you had town water from the beginning.
I'm
Because
sorry?
I know some houses were on wells.
I'm sure they
And
were.
Nevins and
Yeah, I'm
some
sure
other
they were in some
places.
parts. But no, we did it. And I'm presuming that it was because the school came in there and they probably had the water mains put in.
You're right,
and then
you're
it was
right.
easy for them to extend them. I'm assuming that that's why we had the water from the town.
Right, right, right. So your kids went, obviously Longmeadow High School was already there when they were young.
Well, it was built while we were here. Yeah,
Right,
Yeah.
and then graduated first class, I think,
They went.
57. It graduated the first class in 57, 58,
Well, let's see.
59,
No,
somewhere in
there were
there.
classes ahead of them, yeah. Because they graduated in 70 and 71 and 77. But they were not the first classes to
Oh, no, no,
graduate.
no, no.
No.
No, the first classes were right around the late 50s.
Yeah, right.
So that was no problem. Although, once Longmeadow was built in the 50s, they then kept adding on.
Well, immediately about 2 years after Wolf Swamp School was opened, they had to add a section
To Wolf Swamp School?
to Wolf Swamp School. I mean, the population was growing so quickly. And I can remember my older child was in 2nd grade, and that 2nd grade class had 32 children in it, one teacher.
Wow.
And it was at that time, I think, that they decided they needed to expand the school. Yeah.
Well, they expanded everything.
Yes.
I mean, all the schools were being
I'm
built
sure.
and being added onto.
Yeah.
I mean, the high school, like 2 years after it was built, they were
They
doing
needed
an
more
addition.
space. That's right.
They needed
That's
more
right.
space.
Yeah, well, the town just kept growing and growing.
It did. That's
Yeah.
the period.
Yeah.
From 1950, it had 5,000 people. 1970, it had 15,000.
Which is about what
we have today.
now.
Yes.
Exactly.
So it was
Yeah, well,
growing so
because
fast.
the land is just taken up and gone, built on and gone.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, it's that
And then-
is the baby boom.
Yeah, yes, that's right. It's what happened after World War II. All the men came back, and
And in
after-
the 50s, the kids started to be
that's right.
school
And,
age.
yeah,
You
that's
came for schools, you told me one time.
I beg your pardon?
You came for the schools?
Well, yes, we did actually. That was one of the things. We looked into that, and we decided that we weren't exactly pleased with what was happening to the Agawam schools. Not that they were that bad, and we thought that that Wilbraham and East Long Meadow were good. But then the other reason we settled in Long Meadow was because it had easy access to Route 5, which of course later we had 91. But that was a direct route from our house right down Route 5 to New York, one of the shortest
Right, your
ways to
husband
go.
went to New
So
York.
we thought, well, why are we going to go out to Wilbraham when we can be closer to the main highway?
Right. Well, actually, you were there just as 91 was going in.
Yes.
It opened in 1960.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And it almost went to Agawam.
That's right. I remember that. There was a great big controversy about where it was going to be. Yes.
Because everyone wanted it.
Yes.
Not because it was an eyesore that cut
yeah,
the
yeah,
town
that's
off from
right.
the river,
Yeah.
but because everybody wanted it.
Yeah.
And Springfield won,
Yeah.
dragging us behind. Yeah. So, well, that was very good for your husband.
Oh, it was fine. It really cut down the hours that he had to travel back and forth.
Yes, that was a
Yes.
really good reason.
Yeah.
And you were going to live right near a brand new elementary school.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
In the woods.
Right.
All good.
Everything. Yeah. But I do remember a next door neighbor that moved in shortly after we were there, and they had one daughter who was in junior high, and she had to go. Junior high was, of course, on Long Meadow Street at that time.
At Center.
Yeah, where Center School is, in the other building. That was the junior high, and she didn't have bus transportation. She had to walk it or bike it.
Yeah.
So.
But most kids did have bicycles.
Well, that's the other thing. My children said to me, "Mother, everybody had a bike.
Everybody had a bike.
The kids were biking all the time. That was what you did. You biked everywhere.
Right.
You biked to the pools. In the summer, you biked down to the playgrounds where they had They had nice summer programs for the children.
They did?
Oh yes, they had wonderful summer programs.
Where?
Well, the one I know is Wolf Swamp School, but I think
they had it right at the school?
Right at the school, and they had. My daughter said to me, we laugh about it to this day. She said, "Remember all the potholders we did? You wove them on little looms."
Yes.
And she said, and all the lariats we braided and brought home. And she said, not only that, I mean, we did other things. We did games and sports, and they had a wonderful program. And to this day, I mean,
Right at the school, or did
right
you
at
go to the
school.
community house?
Right
No?
at the school. It was right at the school. It was very convenient. And of course,
Nice.
all my children have mentioned, how wonderful the swimming pool was. The first one they built by Bliss Road, even though they had to bike. Again, they had a bike to go there. But I mean, there was a wonderful program, and of course they still have them, where they
Yes.
learn to swim.
Yes.
And even way back then, the town had great programs for the children.
Well, it sounds like it was a wonderful place to raise
It was
children.
a wonderful place. Our whole neighborhood was just full of children. I mean, we had, children of all ages, and everybody knew each other. And the children just had a wonderful time. And the other thing that they had in the neighborhood, and I guess they had in other sections of town, but we had an excellent Boy Scout troop. And it took in the Wolf Swamp area and the old Norway School area.
Yes.
Yeah. And they had a wonderful, wonderful scout program for the boys. And they also had Girl Scouts, and so there was always something for the children to do. They were always busy.
Where did you grow up, Trudy?
I grew up partly in Agawam and partly in Springfield.
Right. I mean, I remember thinking that when I moved back to this area and to Longmeadow, that I wanted my children to have the kind of childhood I had, which was you could get on your bike and go anywhere and feel safe, and everybody knew your name.
That's right. Well, even in those days, you could do that in Springfield.
That's what I mean.
It was called the City of Homes.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. And I did it in Springfield.
Yeah.
I rode everywhere.
Sure, of course you
Forest
did.
Park.
Of course.
It was miles away.
Yeah.
Get on your bike.
And to me, it seems a shame that that's gone. I mean, that the children are now, they spend so much time with computers and TV, and they're not getting out and getting exercise. And the other thing my children, my daughter especially mentioned, and I had talked about this too, and I said, the children then, I said, I don't remember any obese children in school then. And I said, because they got all this exercise.
That's
they
true.
walked back and forth to school, they biked, they were outside. I remember the neighborhood children were after school and good weather, they were outside playing. They were not in the house. They were outside playing games or whatever, but they were out.
Well, Mother said that a lot. Go outside. Go outside.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And they did.
But
Go
they
outside
actually
and
did.
play.
They actually did, yes.
Yeah. Yes. Well, it's been great having you here, Trudy. I'm so glad you came. I didn't even know you were a school nurse. That's so great. Some people.
Yeah, well, that's because I was only part-time. Everybody didn't get to know me.
Well, a lot of people did.
Yeah. Well,
it's been wonderful. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure to do this. I enjoyed it very much. And thank
good.
you for asking me.
I'm glad, dear. I'm so glad. Thank you. That's it for today.